have another good start here as the heats start to speed up. We do have West all the way out in 6. It looks like in lane 5 is probably a John Stark, or I could be off by a lane. Pembroke, Kennett, White Mountains. Looks like he might have pulled something. And Hanover. Yeah, that looks like a hamstring.
That's a hamstring. So Pembroke and West will go 1 and 2, and he is actually not going to finish. He is going to probably need some medical attention.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there.
That is.
That's a tough one, and pulling a hamstring at this point in the season,
that's the kiss of death for any sprinter.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it's one of the things we're talking about. We saw a lot of guys
sitting on the infield is not the way you want to prep for your race.
So always unfortunate to see that as we are starting to get faster and faster with our 200s. We'll have more and more experienced athletes out there. Obviously, we can see it. You quite can't. You guys are still looking at the finish line as we have the gun up, but he has some immediate attention, stretching it out right away, try and mitigate that damage.
Mm-hmm. So hope it's just a pull and not a tear.
But, yeah, definitely that looked like a pull over a strain, so that's going to be a little bit as we have our next section underway.
Only 4 in this heat.
I see an Interlakes in there, and some of these guys are going pretty quick. I see a pair from Hanover. 2
Hanovers and an Interlakes. And that looks like Raymond as well.
I don't know if that is Raymond. It's a different jersey than the other ones I saw. But Hanover is going to take this one.
Nope, that's a Monadnock, not a Raymond. Yep.
So good chance that was our second to last heat.
Yep.
I'm feeling it had a number of the guys.
Yeah, because we did not have Kyle Doucette was not in that heat. Neither was Chris Caputo.
Yeah.
And they are the number 1 and 2 seeds in this event.
Yeah, they're laying slightly off than what we have them at, so we still won't call them all out. But we'll see what we have for. I'll tell you schools. You try and tell me names. Right. How's that work?
So Kyle is doubling back off of his 400. He finished second to Sean Leahy from Goffstown.
Of course, Kyle is from Hanover.
Yep. And we got Chris Caputo from Kennett. Probably Del Bonsu Anand from Conval. He's the 100-meter champion.
And we hear another good start. I'm seeing an Interlakes out there, a couple Hanover, an MV, Conval.
Yep,
how's that matching up?
Yep. That's Eli from Interlakes, Christian from Merrimack Valley, Chris from Kennett, Kyle and Mo from Hanover, and Del from, we got a couple of empty lanes. So Kyle Doucette is going to take that one.
Just as
a little redemption from the 400.
A couple sprinkles start up again. And I believe that should conclude our 200s.
Yep.
We take a look over there, and it looks like the starter is walking away, which
means we have 2 events remaining. We have the
3200
and the 4x4. We have 1 heat of each race. We have 15 girls.
And 1 heat for the 3200s, not the 4x4s.
And potentially 24 boys in the 32. So that'll be a big field.
So, I think that a little bit of rain was just for that heat, although a couple drops still flying. I don't know all too many 3200 runners who are going to complain about a little bit of mist going on.
No, it'll keep them cool.
Yeah. Looks like the girls
prevent them from overheating.
Are getting some instructions there. Again, we have 15. Not sure if everyone's going to be here, although it looks like we might actually have that many. Girls walking to the line now.
We've got Rachel from Conval. Addison from Co-Brown.
We can run through it. Hip number 1, we have Rachel Hurley of Conval. 2, Leela from Hanover, Leela Tremmel. 3, Addison Cox from Co-Brown. 4, Cassie Hemming from Campbell. 5, Sophie Sullivan, Oyster River. 6, Jenna Bears from Kearsarge. 7, Morgan Bell from St. Thomas. 8, Miranda Compton, Co-Brown. 9, Emma Roth of Hopkinton. 10, we have Maya Weil-Cooley from Interlakes. 11, Tessa Millette from Co-Brown. 12, Kelsey Pine from Co-Brown. 13, Vanessa Jankos from Guilford. 14, Michelle Freeman from Campbell. And 15, Lily Sable from Hopkinton. We do see that there is a waterfall for this with the 15 girls where they'll run the first turn, kind of split up, and then as they finish the turn, there will be some a break line or a line of cones, which they'll be able to then cut in. And, of course, with that, we'll see them immediately cut over versus taking the tangent because
that's what they do.
Yeah. Of course, the tangent would be the shortest point.
Yep.
But that's not as fun. Do have a lot of those doubling back, as we had mentioned before.
Yep. Addison and Rachel both doubling back.
Good start.
Layla actually doubling back, too, off of the... And Maya.
Not too much pushing going on. Again,
Cassie.
Having the waterfall there helps out with that. See how it goes at the break.
I would say roughly 2/3 of our top runners are doubling back off of the 1600.
Pretty typical for the top-tier distance runners to do.
Yep. And especially in a meet like this where you're only allowed 2 individual events, you might as well do them both.
Plus that 1600 might have been a few hours ago, so plenty of time to rest, get some more food into you, and see how it goes. I know at least 1 or 2 athletes had a pretty hearty meal, the ones that I had talked to about it.
Yep.
Kind of making sure they're fully full, I guess. That's a thing. So 300 meters in, they are still incredibly grouped. We do see them now coming down this straightaway. No one really looking to push the pace. Of course, this is a 3200. We do, of course, see Rachel Hurley from Conval up in front.
Addison Cox
right on her shoulder. Sophie Sullivan, I think, is tucked back in there for Oyster River as well.
Layla Trummel from Hanover.
And they pass at 1:33, which to me is a sprinter.
93. That is a fairly slow pace, though.
I was thinking they looked a little bit slow, but what do I know?
That's over 12:15 pace. Most of these girls can comfortably run under 11:30.
Addison Cox definitely recognized that was too slow and said,
recognized that right away.
I'm going to go. I'm going to make an honest race out of this. If you guys want to be a part of it, you have to come with me. So good move, smart move. It's saying, hey, I want a decent time.
I'm sure she was encouraged by her coach to do that as well.
I think part of that was her because she started moving before she got to where her coach normally stands. I didn't get an eye on him, but something tells me at this point she has enough races under her belt to know, yep, 90-something is a little bit too slow for me. So she went all by herself, has about a 20 to 30 meter lead right now over Rachel Hurley, who I think is realizing the error and looking to make it up.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 93 for their opening lap is too slow.
Addison Cox coming at the 800 at the 2:54.
So she dropped it down to 89 for that second lap.
Rachel Hurley coming at 3, and then we start having a group at 3:04, 3:05. So I think Addison definitely realized it, and then Rachel Hurley is like, yeah, she's probably not just making a move for the win at 400 meters. She's probably readjusting the pace.
Yep. Yeah, if you're that type of runner, you don't want to just leave it till the very end and make it a 400-meter race, because that gives the advantage to somebody who
wouldn't typically,
maybe who otherwise wouldn't be
right,
in that race with
someone
you.
who typically wouldn't be up there. So Addison Cox again on the straightaway. Rachel Hurley about
behind her by
25, 30 meters. Get a little bit of a time on it.
And then 20 meters behind her is Maya Wiley-Cooley.
4:18 for Addison, the 1200. If I did my math correct. And that was only about 6 seconds or so.
Mm-hmm.
So Rachel still definitely within that zone. Both of them having to run solo.
Yep.
We'll see if Rachel does try and close it up a little bit, which actually could benefit both of them. Especially this early on.
Running in a pair is certainly preferable to running solo.
We'll say, though, it doesn't quite look like that lead has changed in terms of distance.
About the same.
I think Addison might have a slightly longer stride. Not by a whole lot, though. And that distance has now closed as we enter the 1,600-meter mark. Addison at a 5:45.
So that's a 11:30 pace. That's more like where they would like to be.
Yeah, of course. Top seed coming in was Rachel Hurley at 11:23. So those two kind of putting themselves where they need to be.
Yep.
Third, we do have Sullivan from Oyster River. Fourth, we have Maya.
And in fifth, we have Layla.
Sixth, that's Cassie Hemming, I believe, from Campbell.
And then Jenna Beers from Kearsarge.
Pair of Co-Brown girls. Oh, three of them, in fact.
Yep.
See if those three can kind of work together a little bit, maybe tighten up, and then take a shot at moving along. Again, that team mentality sometimes could be pretty helpful.
Rachel's closed up on Addison and has basically erased the lead that Addison had for those second and third laps.
So now it kind of becomes a mental thing for Addison, where it's you can think of it one of two ways, like, oh my gosh, she caught me, or you can think of it like, all right, now I have someone to work with.
Right.
So it's you got to try and stay positive with the mentality. As they are right next to each other at the 7:15 mark. I believe that's a 2K?
2,000, yep.
Then a decent gap back, and we'll see what this crew back here can do to kind of close it in a little bit, bring those times back down, because currently I don't know if they're going to be happy with their pace. Sullivan, Oyster River.
Wild Cooley of Interlakes and Trummel of Hanover.
Cassie Hemming. Jenna Bears up there.
Sounds like some birds are
yeah, that's what I thought I was hearing.
Overhead. Not sure that that's actually what that is.
Either that or something really squeaky. Or just our timer.
Some microphone feedback.
There we go. And we see our leaders come onto this straightaway again. Still back and forth right now. I guess really more one way, just hanging on the shoulder is Rachel to Addison. Both these girls have shown a kick at one time or another, so it could get pretty interesting as we close in. We are at 2,400
800
right now.
meters to go at 8:48.
Yeah, nice wide view there. Of course, Cody Tangway, our cameraman for the afternoon.
Make sure he got his face on the camera at least once.
Needed his time. Also checking on the battery stuff, which I appreciate because it saves me a trip over there. Making sure everything's charging still.
So we've had a change in 4th and 5th position. So Layla Trummel is now taking over 4th from Maya Weil-Cooley. Still, though, at the front, it is Addison Cox and Rachel Hurley, 1 and 2.
Looks like they have a little bit of traffic to go around or really under right now.
Starting to lap the field now.
So, again, with lap traffic, as I always point out, it's one of those things where when you're looking at it, it gives you something to kind of reel in, and it gives you a target to chase down, and sometimes that can be really helpful. But entering the straightaway,
so Rachel,
500 to go.
Rachel has made a move and passed Addison now with about 500 meters to go.
Rachel looking for that bell. We're at 10:10. And she will get it at 10:14, 10:15. Addison not far behind.
10:16.
Keep her eyes up. But so far, it looks like Rachel does have that kick today. See what Addison has left in the tank after having to work hard to bring the pace out there.
Addison got the better of Rachel in the 16, finishing 3rd to Rachel's 4th, and looks like Rachel is going to return the favor here in the 32.
As a spectator and a fan, I like that. I like seeing them kind of go back and forth because it means that, maybe it's for one event versus the other. Maybe it could just be a day-by-day type of situation.
So here we have, for 3rd place, we have now a lead change. Layla Trummel takes over 3rd place.
And a
from Sophie Sullivan.
That was a 3-way battle, so I look forward to seeing that as well. As we do see Rachel Hurley on her last 100 meters. She's kicking it in now, going pretty hard. We're at 11:20. And 11:28. Pretty good finishing kick
here
there.
Comes Addison Cox from Co-Brown. She is going to finish in 2nd place.
From Kearsarge and Sean Leahy.
11:47.
And now we can start taking a look at that 3rd place, which was pretty close before when they came by us. How's it looking now?
It's opened up a little bit because Layla Trummel has now put some distance between herself, Maya, and Sophie.
I remember Layla for having a little bit of a kick. Looks like it might have played factor in now.
Yep. So Layla Trummel looks to have 3rd place well in hand. And then Maya Weil-Cooley in 4th. And Sophie Sullivan in 5th.
Close
and
battle.
Real close race for 6th.
Cassie Hemming and Jenna Beers.
And Jenna Beers.
Nothing like running 3,200 and finishing right next to the person you started with.
Yeah.
And that concludes our runners under 13 minutes.
Yep. And we've got, I believe, 2 more to finish. Our final runner has just crossed the 200s mark.
You can see the See the boys right on the edge of the track getting some instructions, final instructions. Again, looking like a lot of familiar faces from earlier in the day.
Large field.
Again, a group of 24, I believe.
And our final runner coming down the straightaway.
And showing a little bit of a good kick there.
Yeah. Should finish under 14.
And with that,
it does.
On to the boys.
To the boys.
Section 1 of 20. Just kidding. Section 1 of 1 for the boys, 3,200.
Each boy is going to run by himself.
Got 24 of them, so this should make for a really interesting start. Who do we have up there?
We have...
Notice I handed it off.
Yeah, from our first position, David Reynolds from Merrimack Valley, Andy O'Brien, Oyster River, who it looks like is not running. We got Luke Kasich from Co-Brown, Cody Davis, Lebanon, Matthew Reynolds, Merrimack Valley, Daniel Frost, Hanover, Carter Sylvester, Co-Brown, Lars Hogney, Co-Brown, Trevor Pauling, Kearsarge, Dylan Labonte, Oyster River, Danny Ververka, I'm guessing that is Claire's brother.
Yes.
August Catula from Conval also. Tyler Beard, also of Conval. Isaac Wells, Co-Brown. Josh Nodabart, Pelham. Michael Eggers, Hopkinton. Ben Bolton, Kearsarge. Henry Bernstein, Conval. Mitchell Townsend, Guilford. Matthew Smith, Conval. Peter Kratoville from Kingswood. John Mormando from Conant, Daniel Bryant from Conant, and Oscar Miller from Bishop Brady.
I am looking forward to this Reynolds-Kasich rematch. I think this is round 3. They met a couple weeks ago at Co-Brown for a Tuesday, or ended up being a Thursday meet, I think.
Right.
And then I believe we saw them earlier today as well.
Yep, in the 1600. So this is their third head-to-head race.
1-1.
In 2 weeks.
We'll see how round 3 goes, who will break that tie as this start.
The rubber match.
Ended up not being as interesting as one would think with 24 runners, but I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah. No news is good news.
Yeah, one of those situations. So a lot of runners, a lot of laps to go. Something tells me we'll see a lot of moving back and forth between our
So right now we have early lead from, that looks like Trevor Pauling of Kearsarge, who was actually starting on the on the barrel. He was not on the main line. Or no, is that from Pelham? Is that a Pelham runner?
I know the top of the first 11 were on the normal stretch.
Actually, I think Josh Nodabart from Pelham.
That is a Kearsarge runner in first.
I'm wrong.
That would be Ben Bolton.
Ben Bolton, okay.
Taking the early lead.
I was going to say it was definitely off of the barrel, not off of the main line.
Reynolds over his shoulder, who opts to
just takes the lead now.
Take the lead,
right before the first lap, with Kasich close in tow.
So 75 seconds for the first 400 for the guys.
Cody Davis also there in third. What was the time they went through in?
75.
So actually a little bit fast probably. Well, maybe not.
I think that's probably right about.
That's 9:30 pace. That is a little bit fast.
Probably right about where they were thinking for that first lap, just jockeying for position.
Yeah.
Let it thin out a little bit, and then the pace might slow just a hair for that.
May have had something to do with the Kearsarge kid going out so fast.
Right. So we do see Reynolds up front there with Kasich close behind.
And then Cody Davis behind him. So that's who you'd expect to be in the lead right now. Is those three.
Also up in the mix would
Daniel
be
Frost.
Daniel Frost from Hanover.
So Hanover's putting together a pretty solid team all around. We saw them place second at the indoor state meet behind Portsmouth.
David Reynolds holding on to that top spot for the 800 mark.
Yep. Cody Davis, Luke Kasich, and Daniel Frost right on his tail. The four of them pretty much in lockstep.
Yep, none of them wanting to back off from the lead just yet.
Just hang on.
Do see a little bit of a
more
gap.
laps.
A little bit of a gap forming after those 4.
And when you look at their seed times, that's not at all surprising.
No.
The 4 of them at 10 minutes or under. 10 minutes or better.
Well, that'd be our 4 fastest seed time. So we do expect something under 10 minutes today. I would anticipate 2 or 3 guys at least getting that mark, especially with
Spreading
this
out
group of
just
4.
a bit right now, though, actually.
Well, we've got
Reynolds and Kasich.
Got the wave by Lebanon down there, and I know it's Lebanon because of the jerseys.
Yep.
That's how you stand out. So nice little spectator crowd from Leb.
So they're being chased by, that was Thomas Moulton of Kearsarge, who went out in that first lap.
Yep.
Or Ben Bolton, rather.
And then we have Matt Reynolds,
And
Lars Hogney, pair of Conval. And then some more.
We're looking to see what this lead group goes through their 1600 split. I'm going to guess it's right around the 4:55 mark.
David Reynolds doing the majority of the work so far. Although I'm sure he's felt the pressure on his shoulder the whole time.
Yep. Well, in the way this one is shaping up, it's kind of working in his favor again. If he's the one in that group who's got the best kick, we saw that in the 1600.
Yep. You might, if I'm up against him, I gotta make my move. 1200, 800 to go. I can't wait till that last 400.
Yeah, I would make it probably either laps 5 or 6. Yeah. I would make a move, and I'd want to put some distance between me and him.
Yeah, you want to give him the mentality of this gap is too far, you can't catch me.
Yep.
But so far, at the halfway point, no one's done that.
A little bit slower through the 16 than I would have expected. 5:04.
That's definitely way off of Reynolds' seed time.
Close to 30 seconds behind his best.
I do expect, obviously, they'll drop a little bit of time on that last lap, but
and
his
you
seed
see
time,
here,
9:40. That's not
right
quite
as we speak, Reynolds and Kasich separate themselves from Davis and Frost. So David Reynolds putting in a little bit of speed here after the 1600 split. And it is now a 2-man race for first and a 2-man race for third.
Got that senior-sophomore battle up front. Yep. Reynolds with a bit more experience.
Yep, and they're going to start lapping the field now.
That being said, Kasich's no stranger to races.
No, he's not at all.
Of course, we have Coach Brent Kasich for Cole Brown, who's been coaching for probably, 20 years?
Yeah, 20 plus.
So,
and Luke already having run a 4:31 this year in his first race of the season.
Do you see Reynolds putting a little bit more of a gap on him, though?
Yep.
Dropping it down about 7 meters. See if Luke can't close up to David.
He's just got to cover this surge, and if he can stay with Reynolds through this little surge, he's got a shot to maybe take him down.
With David on the track, we talked about it. If you want to beat him, you got to make that move early, 1,200 meters or so. Yep. So David's response: nope, I'm going to surge.
I'm going to make the move first.
I'm going to surge, so you don't have a choice.
That's hard to. It is really hard to.
Hard
to stick with him if that's where he's going to make his move.
Watching David this entire year, he's had such smart races where he makes moves at the right time. He knows where he's at. He knows his own limitations, and he knows when he can pick it up and what he has left for a kick. So with 2 laps to go, it is Reynolds with a larger lead.
6-second lead right now
over Kasich.
Yep.
So now we'll have to take a look at our third and fourth positions as well, see how that battle's shaping up. But right now it is Reynolds all by himself.
And both of them went through the 1600 at well above their normal pace. So they both should have a little bit left in the tank for this final 400.
Again, both of them doubling up today too, so that might have something to do with it.
Yep.
Think that their time earlier this year when they did it, they were fresh for their head-to-head matchup.
Yeah, they were. Yep. So Reynolds with 1 lap to go. Luke about 40 meters back.
He's got a pretty clean track in front of him now.
Yep.
Hits the bell at about 8:38.
40.
Kasich still in the 2 spot. Hits it.
10 seconds behind.
So again, David Reynolds' seed time for today was a 9:40. Could get there. He's got to move, though. About 200 meters left.
So a big pace change in that first 1600 from a 9:30 pace in that first lap to a 10:10 to close out the 1600. So maybe taking a toll on some of the other runners in the heat. That change of speed is tough to cover.
And David Reynolds now on the straightaway. Not going to hit that 9:40 mark today.
Nope.
Still will be under 10 minutes, though, as we expected a few runners to be. See Luke Kasich actually having a pretty good surge. So David with the win.
9:48.
Not the first time we've ever heard Reynolds winning.
No.
Won't be the last.
Probably not.
Luke Kasich
So
making it under 10
minutes. Here is Daniel Frost, who's now kind of separated from Cody Davis. He'll be finishing 3rd at 10:13.
And like you said, Cody Davis of Lebanon coming in that 4th spot, 10:26. So a lot of these guys doubling up, and it seems to be showing.
Yeah. Ben Bolton,
our
10:34.
Again, he led the first 399 meters.
That's nearly a minute PR for him. 11:28 to a 10:34. Not bad.
No. He should be pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Few good battles.
This is between Carter Sylvester and Trevor Pauling.
Cranked up the music. You might be hearing it in the background, which means that you probably can't hear me anymore. Hope there we go.
Nothing wrong with the little Rolling Stones.
Yeah, except for when the whole video gets muted because of it.
Oh, right, because you can't put that on.
I'll be cleaning that up later, probably. Looking forward to it.
4x4 meter relay. Girls only, please check in at this time. Boys, you will not be checking in yet, so please just take your times.
And looks like we still have a few more boys out there at the 12-minute mark.
It's like the announcer, Jeff Nielsen, has put on his beach wear.
Oh, he's ready for the sun.
Got the sandals on.
Actually, this is the most of the sun I've seen all day.
It's true.
Actually hurts
just
to
barely.
look up.
Couple more finishers here in the boys 3,200.
And as we see the last couple finishing up, our next event on the track will be the girls 4x400 meter relay. 1 lap for each of the 4 athletes.
Yep.
Got to pass a baton in between. Nice little 20-meter stretch to do so.
First runner is going to do it in lanes.
I ask this of you every year.
They've still got the cones in between lanes 3 and 4 for the Waterfall 3200 start. So I don't know if they're going to move those or just leave them.
What's that? We should take all our 4x4s and make a waterfall?
Well, we contemplated doing that at Black Bear.
There's 17 of them. I've seen worse.
Yeah. You could make that 2 heats pretty comfortably.
Yeah, it's always that first handoff gets very...
Could be dicey.
Interesting. But nope, the 4x4 will be done with the first lap in lanes. Again, every year I ask this. What is your ideal makeup for a 4x4 team? You know this was coming. I'm doing it early this year.
Yeah. And partly, I'm sure, because you are a key part of the ultimate 4x4 composition.
I'd like to think I play one of the 4 roles.
Yeah. Usually in your anchor spot, and I'll do it a little differently this year because I'll explain where each runner should, each of the different components should be. So in your anchor role is your 800-meter runner, your strong 800-meter runner. In your third position should be your really solid 400 runner who can just every single time they run gives you a consistent number, whatever that number is. If it's a 52, then it's a 52. It's a 55, then it's 55.
Consistency in that spot
Consistency is important. In the second position is where you need your 300 hurdler, the best one that you have. And in your leadoff position is your 200-meter kid ranging up to the 400.
Take a look at the track right now. We'll break you up from your explanation as we are doing some special awards for our winners in the high jump and 400, the 2 featured events today.
Yep.
Catherine told me that she likes to read in her free time. She likes art, and she takes studying seriously, which is actually really nice to
Catherine reads, arts, studies.
In over a year, her first jumps over the bar were yesterday.
Ooh.
And she jumped 5'10". Teresa's also
so a 5'10" jump, having 1 day of practice in the last year.
I think he meant to say 4'10". Just gonna throw that out there.
Probably a good call.
5'10" would be a state record by several inches.
So
there were 2.
Okay, so we must. I think we did 400 earlier, which is throwing me off. So these would be for high jump.
Well, the girls high jump, I believe, but that is Sean Leahy.
Yep. Getting that 400, that 1 lap around.
She must have gone already.
She was on a 4x4 team 3 years ago with my daughter who ran at Kearsarge. She's planning on going to UNH next year. She's going to study nursing, and she's just a super overall kid.
Winner of the 400 going on to UNH for next year, nursing program.
Sean Leahy.
There you go, Sean.
Sean's got a fan club, huh?
Yes, he does.
It's going to take off on the internet this afternoon and really kind of break a lot of followers there on the Twitters thing. Like 3 followers. That's pretty good. But Sean plans to go to
Jeff
UNH
Nielsen with a
next
little
year.
bit of comedic chops there.
Brain upside between those ears. It's called mechanical engineering. His coaches should be really proud of Sean, as his parents probably are too.
Mechanical engineering, not too shabby for Sean. So look forward to seeing more from him as well as the other athletes mentioned. And it does look like we are going to get our 4x400 runners going. Girls, there are 3 sections.
And they'll be in the sun, so.
Wow.
Little sunshine to close out the meet. Not too bad. So he's going to head over to the Runner's Alley tent to do his interview, if he hasn't already.
Might have I guess he probably won't be doing the 4x4 based on how he's.
He looked like he was dressed for heading home. Yeah. Not dressed for a 4x4.
So in this first section, we do have Conant in lane 1, Campbell lane 2, Merrimack Valley lane 3, Prospect Mountain lane 4, and Monadnock in lane 5.
So going back to the Ultimate
Yes,
400s.
thank you.
So if you remember, and I'm sure you do, you were the leadoff leg. Nick Vina was the number 2, the hurdler.
Yep.
Andrew Nelson was number 3. He was the consistency leg. And Brandon Roy, our 800-meter champion, was our anchor leg. So that is, in my estimation, a prescription for the perfect 4x4 team. Now, obviously, if you have a large team and you have, 4 kids who can all run, sub 51, then you don't need those hurdlers. But I'm thinking from a mid-range track and field team with 60 to 80 kids, you're probably not going to have 4 solid 400-meter runners in that group. You might have 1 or 2, so you're going to have to reach into other events. Yeah. And being that the 400 is kind of the middle ground where the middle distance and sprinters meet, it's kind of appropriate that you'd put one of each on that 4x4 team.
Yeah, I know for me that was always a lot of fun because I was more or less ranging up. Brandon was more or less ranging down.
Yep.
Pretty good friend, so I can't mention his name without giving him a shout-out, Brandon Roy. Just got a house in Florida. He's been moving all around the country. He was in Hawaii, up in Washington, now back to Florida. He is with the Navy, pilot for
Flying
them.
planes.
Oh, yeah. So
living the dream.
Shout out to him. And
I believe he does some brewing as well.
Yes, I'm not sure if he still does or not. As we see our first lap, Conant is passing off with the lead at
first leg.
67. MV in second.
Campbell
in third.
And Monadnock. Or Raymond, rather. No, that is Monadnock.
Monadnock Huskies.
Yeah, that is Monadnock. You can see they lead each of the girls out onto the track.
You can't see that.
After each handoff.
We can. But they'll be out there.
The camera's not in the right spot for that.
They will be in the order that the athletes are coming in, which tells us without even having a look that Conant is still holding on to that number 1 spot.
And they will shift them within reason.
Yeah, once it gets to like 50, 60 meters away, they'll probably stop moving them around. But till that point, there'll be a couple people helping out, swapping some orders, and it looks like they will be as we see. No, maybe not. Conant and MV battling back and forth.
Merrimack Valley battling back and forth. Now they will probably just stay as they are and let their runners come to them if they're doing things right.
Wouldn't make too much sense to switch it up at this point.
No, it wouldn't. The runners have kind of honed in on where their teammates are. It looks like Merrimack Valley getting the baton first. They're going to take the lead from Conant. Campbell still in third.
MV with just a slightly better handoff, and that can
make the difference.
When you're shoulder to shoulder, head to head like that, that can make all the difference. And trying to get to that corner first.
We have Monadnock in fourth.
But right now it is a battle for leg 3 between Conant and Merrimack Valley. Conant with the slight edge.
It appears that Conant has retaken the lead.
Did that within the first 100 meters or so of the lap, and it looks like that lead is expanding.
So they made up for their slightly slower handoff.
That sun is feeling hot. I'm sure these runners are feeling it now.
It's warmed things up considerably.
So Conant looking to get it in number 1.
Maybe wishing she hadn't worn long sleeve black underneath.
It's only 400 meters, right?
So Conant doing a blind 4x4 handoff.
3:27.
Merrimack Valley in second and Campbell just behind them.
So it does look like MV is closing the gap a little bit, but it is a 10-meter difference right now between first and second. I do expect MV is going to catch and maybe pass on this backstretch. And it looks like she is. She's closed that 10-meter gap. They're shoulder to shoulder, and she's going to go around before the corner. And she gets the pass before the turn.
So a little bit of a calculated risk there, passing on a corner.
Well, it was right before it.
Yeah.
Trying to squeeze it in. Did have momentum on her side as she is holding on to it and increasing the lead. But there is a kick coming back from Conant.
Oh, yeah.
And Conant makes the pass.
She's not done by any means.
Conant out in front by a stride.
Taken the lead again. Very strong finish there from the Conant anchor.
So, pretty good battle back and forth between Conant and MV. Conant takes it in 4:34. MV just a second behind that for our first two finishers of the first section.
Campbell finishing third. And we see Monadnock now coming onto the straightaway.
Campbell bettering their seed time by at least a couple of seconds. And Monadnock finishing with a smile. Next up, we do have section 2 of 3. Running the first leg in lanes, we have Pembroke in lane 1, Sanborn lane 2.
Not running.
Not running, thank you.
Kennett lane 3.
Lebanon lane 4, not present as well.
White Mountain and Conval.
Look at that, you don't even need a piece of paper.
Nope.
Pretty good.
So 2 of 4 teams deciding not to run a 4x4.
And we have seed times ranging from 4:39 to 4:50.
So kind of a spread there.
None of them electing to use blocks. I know you have some feelings on using blocks for a 400 as they are off.
Yeah. And my feeling is you should be.
My feeling is it's not so black and white, as I more times than not elected not to, but I was also not strong enough to run a 400 all out, and I can now admit that, knowing that I will never run quite as fast again. I think that'd be a lot more training than what it's worth. So coming off of the turn, 300 meters in, it does look like we have, who's that, Kennett?
That is Kennett in the lead. Yep.
Kennett going to pass off
Kennett,
first.
White Mountain, Conval, and Pembroke in that order.
So Kennett will get the break.
Yep. And White Mountain, Conval,
and
Pembroke.
So these 4 teams, pretty spread out actually, considering we're only 500 meters into the race.
Yeah.
But because it is a relay, these things will probably change, just like we saw in the last race where they went back and forth on that last leg. I do anticipate that we will see some stronger runners in different areas.
Yes.
Which can change how big of a gap it is versus something like a 3200 where if the leader is out by 20 meters, there's a good chance that won't fluctuate all too much.
Yep. And I can see that the Co-Brown girls 4x4 is almost that perfect combination of runners. I think they've probably got 2 800 girls in that mix instead of just the one.
Yeah, missing the pure sprinter type.
The pure sprinter, right.
Although they do have a 400 runner who was sprinting before.
Yep.
But so close battle right now between...
A little bit of a change there. It looks like White Mountain.
And Conval.
It's taken over second place from Conval.
So that could be a good battle for second.
Yep. Kennett, though, clearly kind of in control of this one.
Yep.
Hopefully we're going to talk over this enough to drown out Duran Duran so that this part doesn't need to be muted as well.
And again, we do see Kennett with a pretty big lead here coming onto the straightaway.
Yep.
This is, of course, going into our anchor leg.
I would not expect them to give up that much of a lead.
However, we do see a really good battle for second right now
between Conval and White Mountain.
And they kind of just switched spots. So we'll see if they figure out if they switch back. So this could get interesting.
So this is, they are kind of out of position right now.
Yeah. I think if I were the one receiving, I probably would have made that switch myself.
Yep.
But all things said, about 5 meter difference.
Take the inside if you can. And Pembroke giving to their anchor leg.
So again, this race happens to be all Kennett.
All Kennett all the time.
No, a few coaches that like hearing that.
Well, Bernie and I had a nice chat earlier in the meet. So much so that we totally forgot there was a broadcast going on and
a meet.
Neglected to say anything about the girls or boys 300 hurdles or the girls 800 for the most part.
Sometimes those stories are pretty fun to hear. Is actually this lead by Kennett has shrunk
it's kind of evaporated
quite a bit. Will make it a really good finish for 1, 2, 3. It does look like it will be Kennett, Conval, and White Mountain as another 10, 15 meters would have totally changed that race.
Yeah, a lot closer.
Yeah, if this was the 440, a different result would have occurred, as all 4 teams do finish under that 5-minute mark.
Yep.
So with that, we move into our fastest heat of the day, our last event on the track for the girls, section 3 of 3 for the girls 4x4. We do have in lane 1, Hopkinton, lane 2, Co-Brown, lane 3, Hanover, lane 4, Plymouth, lane 5, St. Thomas, and in lane 6, Guilford, as the girls make their way onto the track now.
And I believe we are missing St. Thomas from this heat.
Seed times will range from 4:14 to 4:38.
As I see Hopkinton, Co-Brown, Hanover, Plymouth, and Guilford. I do not see St. Thomas. So Hanover coming in with the best seed time. Probably, as far as Division II goes, they're probably the number 2 team behind Oyster River if Oyster River puts together their top team.
And again, you look at those 2 teams, they're very strong in the sprint area.
Yes, they are. And in that case, I might not bother throwing in a 300 hurdler if I had that many sprinters.
Yeah.
Certainly for the Oyster River team, they've got a very deep sprint squad. They can cover pretty much every event from the 100 to the 400 with 3 or 4 quality athletes.
And it looks like our last heat is underway. As you had mentioned earlier for Co-Brown, they do have almost the ideal mix with the former sprinter moving up to the middle distance, now in that top spot. So that kind of fills out your list so far.
So we could call that the sprinter.
Oh, yeah, she'll still get some sprint work.
Or she could be considered the consistent leg, and Leanne is the new sprinter. But regardless, we have at least one 800-meter runner in the group and a 300 hurdler.
And coming off of the turn, as the staggers all equal out, it does look like we have Hopkinton with the lead.
Looks like something has happened to Hanover.
She's fallen back quite a bit.
I think maybe she has.
Hopefully she's okay.
She is hurting her.
Hopkinton 106, Cole Brown 107.
Plymouth, Guilford. So
yeah, you have to imagine something might have happened with her, because traditionally, even if one of your maybe your top four, something happened to one of them, and you have to run with an alternate, usually you'll try and keep your team competitive for as long as possible. All I can
think is maybe she dropped the baton, because she doesn't look to be limping or otherwise in pain.
Hard to say. What is easy to say is that we still see the lead from Hopkinton as she comes onto the turn, 700 meters into the race.
Yep.
Followed by Cole Brown.
If you're available and here, please check in for the girls' javelin finals, please.
Sounds like we still have some field events underway. Hopkinton with the pass at the 800 for a 2:13. Cole Brown 2:14. Plymouth 2:15. And then a little bit more of a gap with Guilford at 2:20. Hanover closing up some of that gap.
Yep.
Trying to put their team back in the area.
In third place from Campbell, Josh Hoffman. In second place from Sanborn Regional, Owen Snively.
But we still have Hopkinton leading the charge.
We can go back maybe at some point and look at the footage and see if the camera caught what happened in that first lap.
The men's 3,200 meter run in sixth place from Conval, Danny Reverka. From fifth place from Kearsarge, Ben Bolton. In fourth place from Lebanon, Cody
So right now, Hopkinton and Cole Brown separated by about 12 meters or so. Yep. Then a bit more of a gap before Plymouth comes into view. Hopkinton still with the lead, though. And again, we're looking at kicks on this straightaway, which totally changes the makeup of the race.
Absolutely.
Hopkinton handing off first, still within striking distance for Cole Brown after not so great handoff that the coach will probably talk to them about. Something tells me that will occur.
At least one of the coaches will mention that.
One of the coaches definitely saw that.
Yep. So the race is interesting because it can change very quickly on a turn, or it can change very quickly on a straightaway, depending on the two athletes who are matched up against each other.
Yeah, especially how they treat the 400, because a lot of athletes we don't see do the all-out with a 400. It's very challenging to tax your body at this level.
So here we see
Sophie Laird closing that gap.
A very good straightaway runner.
Hopkinton holding on to first right now, though, with about 30 meters to go. And she will be able to hold on to that +1 spot for her team with 4:25. Cole Brown a second or two behind, followed by Guilford in third.
Taking third from Plymouth.
Plymouth in fourth.
Plymouth led in third place for most of the race.
And Hanover staying kind of the consistent area back the whole race. So you gotta really wonder what happened on that first leg and hope everything is okay with her. And that actually concludes the action on the track for the females today.
Yep, their races are done.
Which means we have our last event on the track. This is the boys 4x400.
And the sun goes away.
Also have some javelin going on in the field as the wind also picks up.
Just in time for the last race.
Still have 4 heats of the boys 4x4, so not a lot of teams scratching. I think they probably would have tried to reseed this one if possible.
Brandon McCoo.
Still waiting for our first heat.
Again, sun goes away, wind picks up a little bit, and all of a sudden that temperature just drops.
Breezy.
Pretty good for racing, though, minus the wind. Ideal temperature and humidity at this point. The humidity has kind of relinquished as the day went by. And as we go ahead, enter into our last event of the day, once again, this is NewHampshireTrackandField.com, powered by Runners Alley. Meet Hub brought to you by Speed Sport Timing. Timers here today. They'll also be timing Black Bear next week. We'll be covering Black Bear as well. Looking to do a couple new things at that meet. So pretty excited about